For 15 years, Ford told the American truck buyer that mid-size diesel was a dead market. They were wrong. The Chery KP31 just proved every word of it wrong. This is a 2.5-liter turbocharged diesel engine that achieves 47% thermal efficiency. Not 42% the ceiling Ford's Power Stroke diesel has defended for a decade. Not 44%, the number German engineers claimed was the practical limit for a production powertrain. 47%. In a mid-size pickup, built by a company that Western automotive press spent 15 years dismissing as irrelevant. And that number is only half the story. The KP31 pairs that diesel with an electric motor delivering 105 miles of zero-fuel city driving, then switches to diesel for the towing run the mountain highway, the 400-mile haul across Texas, that no battery-only truck can complete without a charging stop. No trade-off, no range anxiety, no apology. This is not just an engineering story. This is a supply chain story, a job story, a mid-sized truck story that Ford chose not to write for 15 years, and Chery just finished. The American mid-sized truck market did not always look like this. In the 1990s and early 2000s, the Ford Ranger was the best-selling compact pickup in the United States for 11 consecutive years. Diesel variants were sold globally. The platform was capable. The demand was real. Then Ford made a calculation, not an engineering calculation, a financial one. The F-150 generated margins that the Ranger could not match. Every dollar spent developing a diesel mid-size was a dollar not spent reinforcing the vehicle that printed money in Dearborn. In 2011, Ford discontinued the Ranger for the U.S. market entirely. The official explanation cited changing consumer preferences. The actual reason was simpler. If you want a truck with real capability, Ford wanted you to spend $45,000 on an F-150, not $28,000 on a Ranger. The rest of Detroit followed the same logic. Ram kept its 3.0-liter EcoDiesel, but only in the full-size 1,500, at a price point that excluded the buyer who needed a working truck, not a statement vehicle. GM eliminated diesel from the Colorado. Toyota never offered diesel in the Tacoma for the U.S. market at all. The entire segment converged on gasoline turbocharged engines and called it progress. For 15 years, that strategy worked, because no one else showed up with a better answer. But while Ford was protecting its F-150 margins, and while Detroit was declaring the diesel midsize market, dead by consensus, a factory in Anhui province was solving the engineering problem that American automakers had quietly decided wasn't worth solving. Every internal combustion engine wastes energy. That is not a design flaw, it is thermodynamics. Heat escapes through the exhaust. Friction bleeds power at every rotating surface. The question engineers have spent a century answering is not how to eliminate that loss, but how much of it can be recovered before the laws of physics close the door. Ford's 3.0-liter Power Stroke diesel, the most thermally efficient diesel engine in an American half-ton truck, operates at approximately 42% thermal efficiency. That means 58 cents of every dollar of fuel Ford sells you exits through the tailpipe as heat. For a decade, that number represented the ceiling of what was considered achievable in a production pickup powertrain. German engineers at BMW and Mercedes-Benz publicly cited 44% as the practical upper limit outside of laboratory conditions. The Chery KP31 runs at 47% thermal efficiency in a 2.5-liter turbocharged diesel. It achieves this through a combination of Miller cycle combustion, which delays intake valve closing to reduce pumping losses, and real-time electric motor assistance that fills the torque gaps that Miller cycle creates at low RPM. The diesel does not have to work as hard. The electric motor covers the transitions. The result is an engine that extracts 12% more energy from the same volume of fuel than Ford's best diesel. To a contractor in Dallas running 25,000 miles a year, that 5-point efficiency gap is not an engineering footnote. At $4 per gallon diesel, it is approximately $600 to $800 in annual fuel savings before accounting for the 105 miles of daily electric driving that cost nothing at all. The Ford F-150 Lightning was supposed to be the answer to the American electric truck question. It carries up to 131 kilowatt-hours of battery, more than almost any production EV on the market. Its EPA-rated range is 320 miles under normal conditions. Ford's marketing team spent 3 years telling truck owners that range anxiety was over. Then someone hooked a trailer to it, under a 10,000-pound towing load, the kind of load a construction crew in Colorado runs every working day. The F-150 Lightning's real-world range collapses to approximately 100 miles. A 15% to 80% charge at a 150 kilowatt DC fast charger takes 41 minutes. To complete a 300-mile towing run, a Lightning driver stops 3 times. Each stop is 40 minutes. That is 2 additional hours added to a working day every day for the life of the vehicle. The KP31 does not solve this problem by building a bigger battery. It solves it by refusing to accept the premise. The electric motor handles the first 105 miles, the commute, the job site, run, the school pickup. When the KP31 detects a towing load or a long-distance route, the diesel engages. There is no charging stop. There is no route planning around supercharger locations. There is no 41-minute wait while a trailer sits in a highway rest stop. The KP31's towing capacity is 7,716 pounds, 216 pounds more than the Ford Ranger's maximum with its 2.3-liter gas engine, achieved with diesel efficiency and electric daily economics in the same powertrain. That combination has never existed in a mid-size production pickup until now. For 2 decades, American and European automakers cited noise, vibration, and harshness, NVH in engineering shorthand, as the primary reason diesel engines did not belong in mid-size passenger-adjacent trucks. The argument was not wrong. A cold diesel at startup shakes with a frequency that gas engines do not. At idle in a parking lot, the combustion pulse is audible in a way that makes a truck feel unrefined. Ford and GM spent billions of dollars on sound-deadening engine mounts and balancer shafts to manage diesel NVH in their larger platforms. For a mid-sized truck with tighter packaging and smaller budget tolerances, the math never worked. The KP31 approaches the problem from the opposite direction. Instead of adding mass to absorb vibration after it is generated, the electric motor actively cancels it before the driver feels it. The electric drivetrain monitors combustion cycle timing in real time and applies counter-torque impulses that neutralize the diesel's vibration signature at the source. The result, according to Chery's engineering data, is 30% less vibration than a conventional diesel powertrain of equivalent output. In practical terms, a KP31 starting on a January morning in Minneapolis does not rattle. The electric motor brings the cabin to temperature in silence, while the diesel warms on its own cycle. The passenger does not feel the transition. There is no shudder at idle while waiting for a job site gate to open. The single most cited reason for rejecting diesel in mid-sized trucks, the one Detroit used to justify 15 years of inaction, has been solved not by better rubber mounts, but by software. Let's be precise about what American trucks do well, because this is not a story about incompetence. It is a story about a decision made in a boardroom that had nothing to do with engineering. The Ranger is a genuinely capable mid-sized truck. Its 2.3-liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder produces 270 horsepower and pulls up to 7,500 pounds when properly equipped. The Ranger Raptor pushes 405 horsepower through a 3.0-liter V6. Ford's dealer network spans more than 3,000 locations across the United States, and the Ranger carries one of the strongest brand loyalty scores in the segment. These are real advantages that a first-time market entrant cannot replicate overnight. But the Ranger has no diesel. It has no hybrid. Its maximum towing capacity of 7,500 pounds is achieved with a turbocharged gasoline engine operating at approximately 38 to 40% thermal efficiency, 7 to 9 points below the KP31. When a Ranger owner drives 50 miles to a job site and back every day, every dollar of that fuel bill is combustion loss that the KP31 converts into miles. Over a 5-year ownership cycle, at current diesel prices, that gap compounds into $3,000 to $4,000 in direct operating cost. Ford has no answer for that number with its current Ranger platform, and building one requires a powertrain redesign that takes a minimum of 4 to 6 years from decision to production. Toyota's hybrid Tacoma is the most technically sophisticated American market mid-size truck currently available. The iForce Max system pairs a 2.4-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with a 48 kilowatt electric motor integrated into the transmission, producing 326 horsepower and 465 pound-feet of torque. It is a meaningful engineering achievement, and Toyota's reputation for reliability in this segment is among the strongest in the industry. The iForce Max is a mild hybrid. Its electric component assists combustion. It does not replace it. There is no electric-only driving range. There is no plug. The fuel economy improvement over a conventional gas engine is real, but modest, approximately 10 to 15% in mixed driving conditions. Against the KP31's 105 miles of zero fuel commuting and 47% diesel efficiency on the open road, the Tacoma Hybrid is solving a smaller version of the same problem with a smaller version of the same tools. Toyota's next-generation Tacoma with full plug-in hybrid architecture is not expected before 2028 at the earliest. The Ram EcoDiesel is the last surviving diesel half-ton in the American market, and it deserves acknowledgement. Its 3.0-liter V6 diesel produces 260 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque, with a towing capacity of up to 12,560 pounds a number. The KP31's 7,716 pound rating cannot match. For a buyer who regularly tows a boat, a horse trailer, or a loaded equipment haul over 10,000 pounds, the EcoDiesel remains the only domestic answer. But the Ram 1500 EcoDiesel starts above $50,000. It is a full-size truck with full-size fuel consumption and full-size insurance costs. The buyer who needs 7,500 pounds of towing and 50 miles of daily city driving does not need a Ram 1500. That buyer has had no domestic option since 2011. The KP31 is built precisely for that person at a price point and in a package size that Ram's platform cannot address without building an entirely different vehicle. The pattern across all three benchmarks is the same. American trucks are optimized for the buyer. Detroit decided to serve not the buyer who actually exists in the mid-size segment. The KP31 does not beat any of them at what they were designed to do. It beats the market they collectively chose to ignore. The instinct in Washington when confronted with Chinese automotive technology is to reach for tariffs. It is an understandable instinct. The United States currently levies 100% tariffs on Chinese-manufactured passenger vehicles, a barrier that effectively prevents the KP31 from entering the American market at a competitive price point. On paper, the threat is contained. It is not contained. Tariffs stop vehicles. They do not stop engineering. Chery holds the intellectual property on a diesel plug-in hybrid powertrain that achieves 47% thermal efficiency and passes Euro 6.2 emission standards, the strictest passenger vehicle emission framework currently in force anywhere in the world. That IP is licensable, it is transferable, and it is attractive to any mid-size truck manufacturer outside the United States that does not carry Ford's legacy cost structure or GM's UAW obligations. A Stellantis plant in Mexico, a Tata Motors joint venture in India, a contract assembler in South Africa. Any of these paths puts KP31 architecture into a vehicle that enters the US market without a Chinese nameplate and without triggering existing tariff schedules. The supply chain picture compounds the problem. Chery's diesel PHEV powertrain operates with approximately 40% fewer moving parts than a conventional automatic transmission diesel drivetrain. Fewer parts means fewer suppliers, fewer assembly hours, and a fundamentally lower bill of materials. The UAW negotiated labor contracts built around powertrain complexity, the number of components requiring skilled assembly, the hours per unit, the specialized tooling. A KP31 architecture vehicle, assembled in a non-union plant, requires less of all of it. Not because the wages are lower, because the engine is simpler. The American Automotive Union workforce, approximately 150,000 members in powertrain-related manufacturing, is not threatened by Chinese vehicles crossing the border. It is threatened by American and Mexican plants adopting Chinese powertrain architecture that requires fewer hands to build. That is a distinction that tariff policy cannot address, because the tariff wall was built to stop a product, not an idea. The investment implications run in the same direction. Ford allocated $50 billion toward electric vehicle transition between 2022 and 2026. That capital was committed on the assumption that the future of the truck market was full electrification, that the range anxiety problem would be solved by battery density improvements and charging infrastructure expansion. The KP31 represents a third path that Ford's capital allocation did not fund diesel hybrid architecture that sidesteps the battery density race entirely and delivers the range towing and daily economics that the American truck buyer actually requires today. Every quarter that Ford's EV division posts a loss against that $50 billion commitment is a quarter in which the KP31's architecture looks more rational, not less. What happens next depends not on tariffs, but on whether American engineering culture can move faster than it has in the last 40 years. The Chery KP31 enters production in the fourth quarter of 2026. It is not a concept. It is not a press release. It is a diesel plug-in hybrid pickup with 47% thermal efficiency, 105 miles of electric range, and 7,716 pounds of towing capacity, built for a market that Ford abandoned in 2011 and never came back for. Detroit did not lose this ground because Chinese engineers are smarter. They lost it because American automakers made a rational business decision to protect margins on vehicles that already sold well, and in doing so, left a 15-year opening in a segment that moves 600,000 units a year. Chery did not outspend Ford. They outprioritized them. That is a harder problem to solve than a budget gap because it does not respond to capital. It responds only to urgency. And urgency in Detroit has historically arrived about 5 years after it was needed. The UAW workers assembling F-150S in Dearborn are not the enemy of this story. They are its collateral. The decisions that exposed them were made in product planning meetings, where diesel mid-sized trucks were evaluated as margin problems, not market opportunities. Those decisions are now structural, written into platform roadmaps, supplier contracts, and capital commitments that cannot be unwound in a single product cycle. Ford will build a response. GM will study the segment. Toyota will accelerate its plug-in hybrid timeline. The machinery of American automotive engineering will eventually turn toward the problem the KP31 has forced into view. It has done this before, after the Japanese fuel economy shock of the 1970s, after the German diesel moment of the early 2000s, after Tesla proved that electric vehicles could be desirable. American industry has a documented history of absorbing external shocks and rebuilding around them. The question is not whether that process begins. It already has. The question is whether Detroit will still be relevant when it finishes.